Did you ever imagine what it would look like if horses changed into cute anime girls? Me neither. I did imagine that, but not in a cute way, if you know what I mean. And here we are, you little freaks. Umamusume, the sports anime phenomenon that got revived by its latest spin-off Cinderella Grey. No, not this one. Not even this one. This one, yeah. Did you know Umamusume is based on real Japanese horse racing? Lately, thanks to anime, I got introduced to a lot of sports, like volleyball thanks to Heyo, figure skating thanks to Medalist, and now to Japanese horse racing thanks to Umamusume. I knew about the sports, you smartass. I just didn't dive deep into them because I'm a nerd and I don't go outside. Is horse racing even fun? Good question, my friend. I don't know, but Umamusume is. Apparently, horse racing is very popular in Japan and has a long history. Yeah, actually that long. Here's the thing that blew my mind. Every girl in this show is actually a real-life Japanese racing legend. And the drama you see, it actually happened. Between us anime nerds, I didn't know that at the beginning. It took me like 6 episodes to realize that Umamusume is based on a real Japanese horsing. Yeah, I'm that dumb. I was like, yeah, these girls with bunny ears are pretty cute. Why are they even running? Is this like a running anime? I seriously hope I'm not the only one. I'm really happy that I decided to watch Umamusume because I think this is a very unique way of storytelling this kind of sport to the whole world. I think Cinderella Grey is a one of its kind sports anime that does even a better job than Haikyuu or Blue Lock. But is it actually better than Blue Lock, or is it just a weird waifu simulator? We are going to find out in the judging part. I actually stumbled upon this anime really randomly. I was going into this whole Umamusume thing very blind. At first I was like, yeah, cute girls running, ears and stuff. I'm gonna drop this after 3 episodes. It's gonna be boring as hell. And boom, I binged the whole 2 seasons of Cinderella Grey in like a night. So let's start with a quick description of the story so we understand why Cinderella Grey is so cool. Cinderella Grey is a story about a Umamusume called Oguri Cup that crawled her way up from the countryside of Kasamatsu to the national stage and became a fan favorite. Why fan favorite, you might ask? Well, it's very simple, because she comes from a poor background and everybody loves this kind of stories, me included, when someone from a really, let's say, bad background becomes really successful. It's very similar to me, but without the successful part. It's really, and it's the background that really pushes you to really root for her. I believe you also become a favorite of her story. So it was really a story about how a horse actually came from this countryside and rised to the national stage with all odds against that horse, because it was believed that grey horses were really not good at racing, or they didn't have really the qualities for the racing. Umamusume is based on real life Japanese horses. Oguri Cap is no exception, and indeed was a really huge legend in the horsing world. And Oguri Cap is really remembered to this day. When I dive deeper into the real life story of Oguri Cap, I was actually surprised and stoked how well they managed to really animate all the important moments in Oguri Cap's career, rivals, everything that happened. So that was actually pretty cool. And when I say Oguri Cap was huge, I'm not kidding. The real life Oguri Cap was so popular that she generated millions in betting revenue and basically saved the Japanese racing industry in the 90s. The anime isn't just dramatizing it, the Oguri Cap boom was actually a cultural phenomenon. If this is not enough to hook you already, then I really don't know what is. Like the whole domination in the regional races, in the national races, her rival Tamamo Cross was also true. The Japanese Racing Association changed some rules because of Oguri Cap. That happened in the anime, it actually happened in real life too. And also the whole thing about being a fan's favorite and like a phenomenon is all true, it really happened. I also need to highlight that Cinderella Grey is a spin-off of the story. So first, Pretty Derby was released, which is kind of like a first part. Cinderella Grey captures the story of Oguri Cap. Pretty Derby focuses on a different character. So in Pretty Derby, you can meet Oguri Cap. You can see her in some of the scenes, but the focus really in Cinderella Grey is on Oguri Cap. I didn't finish Pretty Derby yet, so I'm still watching it, but I can already tell Pretty Derby does a much better job at introducing the viewer to the whole Umamusume world. Again, I didn't really understand that it's Japanese horse racing until like 6 episodes and a bit of background checking, right? In Pretty Derby, on the other hand, like at the beginning, I think there is like 2 minutes dedicated to the whole Umamusume world, represents real horses, blah 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 blah. So at the beginning they mentioned this very important bit which I missed in Cinderella Grey. Nevertheless, if you watch Cinderella Grey first as me, you won't miss really on the story. It's kind of like a spin-off, so it's really capturing a different story, a different horse. I think watching Pretty Derby first, you won't really understand why Oguri Cap is in the background and why that character is even that important. So I think it's pretty cool. And also, if you are wondering, same as me, why Cinderella Grey has a much higher rating, is because Cinderella Grey has much better animation, much better music, much better directing. From production side, I think Cinderella Grey is much better. And also, Oguri Cap's story is much more interesting. While Pretty Derby I think is pretty okay, the difference in them is you can also see, for example, in the running animation, Cinderella Grey does a much better job of animating like all those key moments, like how they are running, those really like last moments of the run and stuff like this. It's much more emotional, it has much more impact. So Pretty Derby was an appetizer and Cinderella Grey was the main course, even though it should be the other way around. I really love the anime. I think it's really fast paced and it really hooks you in very early. I think right in the first or second episode you already have a race, so it really goes very fast. And if you feel lost at the beginning like I did, then that's completely fine. You will kind of understand it later in the anime. And also I need to mention they also have a mobile game which you can play. That's actually pretty cool. Not a lot of animes actually have their own mobile game, which is super popular, so definitely give it a try. I'm not sponsored by the game, by the way, but you can sponsor me. I'm open to that. So let's move to the judging part with my hammer as well. So let's discuss what are the pros and what are the cons. So one of the pros I really want to start with is the message. Every story of the Umamusume, every character has a story from a real life horse, something that really happened in real life, something that took place and captivated people's hearts and most likely wallets. Because let's not forget, folks, Japanese horse racing is a betting game, and betting games are wrong only if you lose. The animation is top notch, the suspense between the races and at the end of the races is absolutely breathtaking. The characters are very likable and interesting, and they are very different from each other. I think it's a very unique way to storytell all these stories from real life horses to the audience that doesn't really watch Japanese horse racing. So let's move also to the cons, because there are small cons that I have. I think in Cinderella Grey specifically, they didn't do a really good job of explaining the whole world of Umamusume to the viewer, because some people can hop in on this adventure from Cinderella Grey. I think they could have worked on this a bit better. Another thing is Oguri Caps, from what I've read, was like a huge success story. It was really a horse from the countryside that came and rise to the national stage, which is a huge thing. In the anime, I think she's in the regional races for like just 4, 5, maybe 6 episodes, and really you feel like she's winning. They don't make it like that it's such a successful story. I think they could have maybe put more weight on the specific success of Oguri Cap, because it was really something huge in that time, and also given the fact she was a grey horse. Grey horses usually are not made for racing. I think they could just have put more weight on the humble beginnings of Oguri Cap, and that's all for my cons. So let's move to the judging. My final verdict for Umamusume Cinderella Grey is not a masterpiece, but definitely a must-watch. If we will take out the part of the Japanese real horses from Oguri Cap's story, so something that will be, let's say, made up, I think it will be like pretty cool, and I think the anime will be still pretty good. The fact that it was a real life horse with a real life story, that much more of a reason for you to watch it, because it's something that really happened. So the story and the message it conveys, it takes it to must watch. What I really love about Umamusume is that you can finish the anime and then you can dive deep into the real life stories of the horses, so you can then continue with this and you can really read, and I highly suggest to really go read it, because you will be surprised how accurate they managed to do the anime. So highly recommend to check the real life stories of the horses. That concludes our review of Umamusume. Now let me go and let me play some Umamusume game. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe if you like the video, and let's see each other in the next one.